is a mystical world filled with passion, peril, and the unpredictable.
Magic is a living mystery, where the impossible becomes possible and dreams become reality.
From dangerous deceptions and whimsical wizardry to the beguiling beauty of the human hand.
When something magical happens right in front of your face, it's a powerful experience.
There are amazing and mysterious stories behind magic's greatest illusions. Perhaps magic's greatest appeal is its ability to seemingly defy the basic laws of both logic and science.
You can break magic down into about 7 key effects, the 7 impossibilities within the physical universe as we know them. That is to take matter or an object, make it appear, vanish, transform, pass through, levitate, disassemble, and restore it, and transport, move from one place to another. And transport is actually a connection of 2 of the others, and that's an appearance and a vanish. The effect is that of travel at the speed of light, in a sense.
Here we go. They're gone. And sure enough, here, there's 2 of the doves, and over here are the other 2.
The modern transport illusion is a direct descendant of ancient Native American rituals. Legend has it, as a show of their mystical power, medicine men would reportedly vanish into thin air, only to magically reappear, stepping unharmed from the flames of the tribal fire. In recent years, magicians like Franz Harari have modernized the magic of this ancient illusion.
In my own show, I have an effect where I basically become burned alive with a jet engine. Even though the elements are now high-tech, the story is the same. And that is about a human being and the magical ability to overcome fire. And in a sense becomes a human phoenix.
One of the interesting things about the earliest magicians is that we presume that the early magic tricks done by these people was completely fooling everybody. But maybe they were looking at it as theater too. It might have been that they were watched with a kind of tongue-in-cheek and a twinkle in the eye, and that they were not believed to be anything more than symbolic, metaphorical stories.
The shadow box illusion uses 2 of magic's basic effects, appearance and transformation, to make silhouettes mysteriously come to life.
The shadows were used a long time ago with Native Americans telling stories and projecting shadows onto walls or the sides of their huts or teepees. The images that they used were horses or deer or people. It is said that the more powerful medicine men could make those shadows come to life. So in a sense, that was the earliest version of the shadow box.
Using fire, stencils, and canvas screens, illusionists Rico and Lisa de la Vega have developed a unique presentation of the shadow box.
Our version of the shadow box is different in that we incorporate it with another effect that is called artist dream, in which we make paintings come to life. It's very small magic, intimate magic, but it's very powerful.
Our shadow box is the shadow effect without being a shadow box. We have turned it into a shadow screen, which is essentially the way it started with Native Americans.
Magicians Siegfried and Roy perform a variation of the penetration illusion that combines Gothic imagery with an incredible effect that defies the very laws of science and logic. By combining new technologies with time-tested principles, many of today's illusionists are redefining the limits of magic, and in the process are setting new standards for the generations to come.
Today, there are a large number of very clever people thinking up new ideas, and there is a tremendous creativity in magic, making it better and better, more and more baffling.
Fox Family Programming is brought to you in part by Audi.
The Death Tank, a coffin-sized steel and glass chamber with barely enough space for a man and no room for error. This diabolical box was designed as the ultimate escape challenge for magician Lance Burton.
Here's how it's going to happen, I hope. Two big guys will strap me into a regulation straitjacket. Still strapped in the jacket, I'll be lifted up and dropped into the death tank. The tank will then be topped off with water till it's overflowing. The lid locked down tight with steel chains and armored padlocks. Then I'll be shut off in the dark and left on my own to escape or die.
Lance Burton's Death Tank is a hybrid of two classic death-defying stunts.
Gentlemen, the straitjacket.
The straitjacket escape and Chinese water torture were created in the early 1900s by the most celebrated magician and escape artist of all time, Harry Houdini.
Harry Houdini came about at a time in history when America was really in turmoil. The working class were being suppressed. Everyone felt, in one form or another, that they were in chains. And here comes this little immigrant guy who says, look, I can get out of anything. Nothing can hold me back. And well, that's just what the people at that time wanted to hear. If Houdini could somehow break through his own chains, maybe they could overcome the shackles of their own everyday life.
In 1913, Harry Houdini found a way to bring the thrills of his death-defying stunts to the stage when he created the legendary illusion he named the Chinese water torture. The magician was lowered upside down into a 500-gallon tank of water that was locked shut. Houdini then had less than 2 minutes to escape or die.
With the water torture cell, Houdini touched the audience in this primal, basic way. Because unlike the illusionist who puts a girl in a box and the girl disappears, only magicians who have taken the concept of Houdini's water torture cell and made it work are magicians who haven't imitated that escape exactly, but have developed something of their own along those lines. Same kind of death-defying qualities.
In 1975, magician Doug Henning left audiences breathless with his live television special.
This apparatus.
The show culminated in an updated version of Houdini's Wet n' Wild escape illusion.
Water torture escape. The idea.
So it's the live television special, 60 million people, it's going great. Everything was flawless. The final illusion, Houdini's water torture escape.
As you can see, Doug's ankles are wrapped in panic.
As millions looked on, few knew that during rehearsals, Henning's show-stopping illusion had been plagued with a series of technical problems.
With a camera.
The most serious was a malfunction in the winch mechanism used to lower the magician into the 400-gallon tank of water. By the time of the live performance, repairs had been made. But Doug Henning was not aware that the winch was now operating at half its normal speed, which meant he would have to hold his breath twice as long.
Please, please, we need absolute silence so Doug can concentrate.
They're lowering me down in the tank, and in that silence, I could hear my heart going boom, 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 boom.
Houdini considered this his greatest escape.
And I suddenly realized I didn't have any air.
The original plan called for Henning to escape within 90 seconds, but the slow-moving winch had caused a potentially deadly delay.
Tonight, Doug is going to attempt to...
By the time the curtain was raised to conceal Henning's secret escape methods, he had already used up more than 30 precious seconds of air and was dangerously behind schedule.
45 seconds. Can you see the watch? Houdini's tank was mostly steel.
Now, for a split second, I had to make a decision whether to die on national television or whether to give up and have my career ruined.
And don't forget that this is live.
And suddenly I remembered I know how to meditate.
Keeps ticking.
And so I started to meditate, and slowly my heart started to go slower. So I thought, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it.
This is scary. I can hear churning water, but I don't know whether he's out of the manacles or not. I really don't know. 1 minute, 30 seconds. Doug Henning is now bound and immersed in 200 gallons of water. How can anyone hope to escape from such a trap?
Meanwhile, Gene Kelly's going nuts because he was told originally I was supposed to get out of there in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
This long. The clock, as you can see, keeps ticking, ticking. It's almost 2 full minutes. Will he outdo Houdini?
And he looks at the cue card to see what to say next, and it says, call for the man with the axe. So the guy runs out, there's a guy with a hood on and an axe.
This man standing here is our emergency squad. If anything goes wrong, he's ready with his axe. Let's hope we don't really need to use him. The time is running out. It's running out. It's 2.5 minutes, still no Doug. But there's something wrong. Get the axe. Go up there. Smash the glass, drop the curtain.
Curtain drops, and I'm gone. The man with the axe drops the axe, whips off the hood, and it's me. And if you look very closely, I'm blue. Because I ran out of oxygen. I barely made it. And I realized it terrified people, and I took it out of the show. So I haven't done that ever since.
2 decades later, the lessons learned from Doug Henning's close call had faded, and Lance Burton took the plunge into his updated and much more confining death tank. Adding to the danger was Burton's decision to be further constrained by a straitjacket.
I remember when we were taping the trick, when I went under the water and they locked the lid on, the cameras were rolling. I remember thinking to myself, what was I thinking? Why did I ever agree to do this? It really was dangerous. Something I would do in my live show. The reason is kind of twofold. Number one, if you're doing an escape and you're underwater, you're going to be all wet, so you kind of have to end with it. And the other thing is, a lot of the escapes, there's an element of danger in it. And doing it once for a TV show is reasonable, but to risk your life twice a night is kind of unreasonable in my mind.
2 minutes.
The water torture cell is one example of several dangerous tricks and illusions that have been performed over the years.
Let's wait just a few more seconds. A few more seconds.
All of these which required skill and absolute courage in carrying them out. Of course, there is always the danger that something might go wrong.
Okay, get the axe.
Hi, I'm Mariah Carey.
Fox Family's all over this diva.
In 1960, the world of illusion changed forever with the debut of magician Mark Wilson's Magic Land of Alakazam, the very first nationally televised weekly magic show.
In the past, a magician in a theater could get to maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people at the most. But on television, you could perform for literally millions of people at the same time. And the Magic Land of Alakazam proved that magic would work on television.
Mark Wilson's show, The Magic Land of Alakazam, was followed by another series called Magic Circus, and that was a show that really inspired me to become a magician. I could see on television there was magicians actually doing this for big audiences.
Mark Wilson was the biggest magician on TV at that time, and he had all kinds of big illusions and the showgirls and the animals, and he would pull the rabbit out of the hat and saw the girl in half and do all kinds of amazing things. And that's when I thought, wow, that looks really cool.
In 1980, Mark Wilson traveled to the People's Republic of China and produced a 1-hour landmark television special.
We were really the first Western performers to perform for the Chinese people in the 32-year history of the PRC. We performed not only in theaters, but in parks, in factories, in communes. They had never seen anything like what we did. The response from the Chinese people was just incredible. And one reason is because magic is truly international. You see, I can go anywhere and perform a trick for somebody, and they don't have to understand what I say, the language. But if I take a ball like this and I put it in my hand and it disappears and comes back, that works anywhere. And it worked beautifully in China.
While Mark Wilson was bringing magic to millions throughout the world, another magician named Doug Henning exploded on the scene with a surprising psychedelic style.
Until that time, magicians were these tall, older guys with black mustaches, top hats that would pull rabbits out of hats. And here was this hippy-dippy little guy in this psychedelic costume. Hey, how you doing? My name's Doug Henning. Hey, and he started doing these amazing illusions you'd never seen before. And I think at that time, Doug Henning really brought a nice sense of fun back into magic. It wasn't stodgy anymore.
I had a magical think tank, and it was some of the greatest minds in magic. We invented hundreds of illusions and revived other illusions. Each television show, we had about 20, 30 large and small illusions.
Doug Henning insisted that his specials be broadcast live so that there would be no doubt among the home audience that the magic they were seeing was real.
And they went to great lengths to try and sell that idea that you're seeing this live, that it wasn't taped and edited.
Smash the glass, drop the curtain!
And I think that played a big part in the rebirth of magic, but I think more than anything, it was Doug, because here was a young guy, very hip-looking guy. I think that did more than anything to provide a real renaissance for magic.
Doug Henning is the guy who really came along and made magic cool. He would do amazing things. Girls would be levitating, and he would pass rings of fire over them. Suddenly now, other magicians would sort of come out and say, yes, you know, I'm a magician. I'm proud to say it. Before that, magic was thought of as kind of like a bad birthday party clown or a guy who did this. That's the, let me out, that's the mime guy.
Doug Henning in his TV specials did something very interesting. He always included a lot of close-up magic.
Thank you, folks. 4 seashells in one corner.
He always took the time to sit down on the edge of the stage and do something right here with the camera nice and close.
This time, folks, Kirk watch here. 1 seashell in my hand and 3 in my pocket.
And to me, those were the most magical parts of the show.
1 seashell. Well, look at this. It's George, the turtle.
And that was a good use of television and magic because it was so intimate.
America's foremost magician. What?
In the years that followed, dozens of magicians from Harry Blackstone to Lance Burton starred in their own big-budget specials. But this mass exposure of magic had an unexpected, side-splitting effect.
I think when people could see magicians on TV regularly, suddenly these things that used to seem very impressive start to seem silly.
I'll take a time, always a few slow readers.
And so that opens the door to poking fun at people who take themselves too seriously.
My first trick, I'm glad you asked. Scurvy, follow me with that camera.
One of the pioneers of comedy magic is Carl Ballantine. He created the character of a fumbling magician who just couldn't seem to get it right.
All eyes on the basket.
My first trick, I raised the lid off of a basket. I said, watch the lid come off the basket, and up it comes, right? Up! Reach in my basket, I take the scissor and cut, and the basket lid falls. Well, it has a thread on it, right?
That's all right.
Carl Ballantine realized there's something very funny about lampooning the man who's supposed to have supernatural powers.
And now, the rabbit from the top hat. All magicians do it. Why shouldn't I?
He has all the carriage and the costume and the behaviors of a traditional magician, but he never really does a single trick.
What happened to the thing? Inside the hut. Well, if you're going to watch that close, I don't want to play no more. Forget it.
And as far as I'm concerned, he's the granddaddy of all comedy magic.
Little tiny bunny. Get ready, Pete. I'm coming down. Smile for the crowd as I... What the heck are you guys trying to prove back there?
I met a lot of magicians, and they always say to me, you know, you inspired me.
My favorite. Up the sleeve.
I never could understand that.
Let's go up the sleeve.
Because I do a 12-minute act in which I don't do a magic trick.
Are you kidding?
Over the years, The Tonight Show has presented and introduced some of the greatest magicians in the world. But there is no one who quite compares to my first guest tonight.
In 1992, Johnny Carson introduced a magician whose self-exposing act caught everyone off guard.
The great Flydini.
think comedy and magic go together because what works best for comedy also works best for magic. Personality. Comedy is all about time. You can have the best joke in the world, but if you don't bada bing, hit it right when you're supposed to hit it, it's not going to work. Same thing in magic.
We have seen some amazing effects, ladies and gentlemen, over the years, but you have to admit, Flydini has shown us more than we ever wanted to see in magic. Let's bring him back for a little bow. The great Flydini, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not sure when the moment of comedy and magic became together, but I would bet when the magician made the elephant appear that something else appeared right below the rear of the elephant. I think that's when comedy magic began.
Well, you want wild animals? We got wild animals. Tell her, Bilda Tila, Aye, Zwei.
Today, magicians Penn and Teller are on the cutting edge of comedy magic.
Okay, so they're not Bengal tigers, but they are alien, six-legged, hairy monsters capable of injecting your flesh with a deadly poison.
Their irreverent stage routines and satirical television specials have poked fun at many of magic's most hallowed traditions.
Let's do a number equal to every tiger Sigmund and Leroy ever produced. There we go. There's
my favorite magicians now, I think, are the comedy magicians.
bunnies and doves and...
And the reason I like Penn and Teller's work so much is they constantly surprise me.
Hey, rabbit! Out of a hat! There's nothing at all scary about a rabbit, is there? Well, how about this rabbit?
You think you know where they're going, and then they get you down, they take a left turn, and they go off somewhere else.
Okay, now it's a million bees! Sigmund and Leroy, you are whips! It is your move!
So to me, that's what magic is about.
Try this at home!
While grand-scale illusions of levitation, transformation, and daring escapes are difficult and complex to perform, most magicians would agree that their skills are truly put to the test with close-up magic, where even the simplest of deceptions seem to defy all rational explanation.
This is the magic that we most respect among magicians because it takes the most work. It takes days, months, even years of practice to make automatic, very abnormal hand movements. So this is the type of magic that takes the most time to develop.
I'd like to share with you a classic of magic called the cups and balls. Name that for 3 balls and 3 cups. And each
Many experts believe that the oldest trick in the book is the cups and balls. This sleight of hand deception dates back more than 3,000 years.
Take the ball and place it over the cup. Snap my fingers and bada bing, bada boom, the ball is actually penetrated. Right through the
When one talks of classic, I suppose the question immediately raised in anyone's mind is, what is a classic?
This time we're going to make it a little bit easier on myself and only use 2 cups and 1 ball.
I would say it is a trick that has stood the test of time and can still entertain and baffle. It is for that reason that the cups and balls has become a classic.
1, 2, 3. Ball is actually penetrated right through the cups. We're going to do it again, but this time we're going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to take the ball and place it inside of my hand. The ball actually vanishes from my hand.
Cups and balls was always intriguing because it's a wonderful mix between puzzle, guessing game, and magic.
Magician Mike Grasso has created a graceful and mystifying sleight of hand routine that incorporates balls, glasses, and parasols.
You do need to acquire some sort of sleight of hand skill.
if you plan on being a magician, because at any given time you could be asked to do a trick. You're going to be handed an ordinary object and you're going to have to manipulate it. If you plan on being a good sleight of hand performer or a manipulator, you must be able to practice and practice and practice.
You can learn a close-up trick in a short amount of time, but to perfect it and make it something that people will remember may take a lifetime. I've always adhered to the philosophy that it's better to do 3 or 4 tricks well than 1,000 tricks bad. I think close-up magic has survived this long because it's a one-on-one thing. To sit that close to people and do that trick and have them enjoying it and fool them at the same time is wonderful. The majority of people, when they see a trick done personally to them, that's the trick they're going to remember because they saw it close up and they know that it really did happen.
Would you please remove that ring and place that? So we have 3 rings.
In this classic close-up illusion known as the Himber rings, audience members provide the magician with the props.
Fine feature, again, not a simple gold band. Watch.
3 distinctive rings are placed in an ordinary wine glass, and by simply stirring them, they are mysteriously joined together.
No matter what kind of special effects we see in the movies, no matter what we see on television, when something magical happens to you right in front of your face, it's a powerful experience.
It is a familiar story, a store-bought magic kit, a backyard show, and for some, a fascination that lasts a lifetime.
My start in magic was very typical. Like most magicians, I got the proverbial magic kit for Christmas as a kid. I started doing shows for the kids in the neighborhood, and before long I was doing birthday parties. So just kept doing bigger and bigger magic shows.
The first time I saw a magician, I was the volunteer from the audience. And when he pulled the coin out from behind my ear, I really thought I had money hidden. And I started washing my ears real carefully after that. You know, I didn't know it was a trick. And it was such a wonderful feeling, such a wonderful emotion. And that's what inspired me to get into magic.
A lot of kids start in magic because they see it as a means of coping with the world around them. And by learning some magic trick that seemingly breaks the laws of nature and transcends the limitations of nature, they've suddenly got power because they can do something that their friends can't do, that the adult world around them can't do.
But after young magicians have unraveled all the mysteries contained in their magic kits, how do they go from the backyard to the big time? For nearly 100 years, most have learned the tricks of the trade by joining exclusive organizations like the Society of American Magicians and Britain's Magic Circle.
Magical societies are entirely a phenomenon of the 20th century. Initially, many of them involved the professionals only. And nowadays, these large magical societies include amateurs. So the amateurs and the professionals can rub shoulders and enjoy one another's company.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there it is, out of the hat. Oh my gosh, how much? Just kidding,
Every year, many magical societies sponsor conventions where illusionists from around the world come together to trade tricks, hawk their wares, and strut their stuff.
Hey, what do you know about that?
Magical societies also sponsor dozens of junior competitions throughout the world. For many aspiring young illusionists, it is the first chance to perform on stage before an audience.
It gives you tremendous confidence to be able to walk onto a stage and perform magic. It takes a lot of practice, therefore it's up to them to then improve and learn. So we're able to hopefully see those young magicians evolve into mature adult magicians in later life.
While many young magicians have learned the ropes with the help of magic societies throughout the world, there are a handful for whom the love of illusion is a family tradition.
I came into magic because I grew up with it. Magic was always just a part of my life, and it just seemed normal, like breakfast or anything else.
Luna Shimada is a second-generation illusionist. Her father, Hirato Shimada, was world-renowned for combining flawless sleight-of-hand manipulations with exotic Japanese themes.
My father was one of the most creative, most innovative masters of his field. Many, many years ago, he created a whole act producing these parasols. So I basically took that theme and am carrying on the tradition of this act. I feel very blessed and very honored to have the history that I have, and I'll openly admit that I had a little bit of an advantage in that respect.
This holy place may look peaceful, but the spirits living within these walls are evil.
Oh my God!
Tonight, this family will dare to spend the night locked inside a haunted Italian monastery.
Can you guys hear me?
And the only praying they'll be doing is for their lives. Join host Linda Blair for The Scariest Places on Earth. Tonight at 9, 8 Central, only on Fox Family.
Looking for a quiet moment? Get a quieter cookie. Soft, fruit chewy Fig Newtons. Time out from the everyday crunch.
1900s. Master magician Harry Blackstone Sr. was one of the preeminent illusionists during magic's golden age. The secrets of one of his most baffling effects, the floating light bulb, were passed down to his son, Harry Jr., who astounded audiences with it during the 1960s and 70s.
The floating light bulb was originally created by my grandfather, but really it was my father that took it on and made it his own. It started with my mother coming on stage holding the bulb and a globe. And he would take the globe off and take the bulb, which was already lit. Show the audience, walk around. First, it would balance on his finger. would bounce on his finger and he would burn himself, and there it was floating in midair by itself. After that point, he would take it down into the audience. He would show people. He would let them hold it and touch it.
Looked at it carefully. May I show you a miracle?
It was just a wonderful, classic, magical moment that amazed people.
It's impossible. That's why we do it.
I loved so many parts of my father's show for different reasons. But I'd have to say that my favorite illusion would be the floating light bulb.
I'll tell you what. If I let you look at it, promise just to look. Don't touch. All right, then.
It was really a moment for the audience to see my dad's character and his personality that they didn't really get a chance to see in other parts of the show. It was really just a wonderful piece that most people remembered my father by. And when I think of my father performing, I think of that.
With magical dynasties, there's always a positive and negative aspect to it. The positive aspects, of course, being the history and the inspiration and being exposed to the creativity of that. The negative side is you have to work a lot harder in order to step out of the shadow of your history and your magical dynasty.
As a new generation of magicians prepare to take the stage, they carry with them the legacy of a rich history and the promise of a bright future.
The young magicians right now are so incredibly strong, and they're far more creative, and the whole world is so open to them that I think that magic is headed in a good direction.
Those of us who are involved in magic, we've been obsessed with it since we were children. It's the same appeal as myths and fairy tales, and to us there'll always be that appetite for wonder.
I always wanted to put wonder back in magic, that beautiful feeling when people see something astounding. And I think I opened doors for magicians. And I always tell the young magicians that if you believe and you want something hard enough, you can do anything, that nothing is impossible.
Magic is universal in its appeal because you can do magic anywhere, anytime, and entertain people.
All magic done well can drag everybody into that little childlike mode of being able to believe in Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy just for that moment. It's all about using your heart to make that moment for people.
It's wonderful when I see a magician that amazes me. You know, it brings me back to when I was 5 years old. That sense of wonder, that emotion I felt the first time I saw a magician.